I mean, you were known for your views on the Illuminati, and after the appearance on the Terry Wogan show, you know, people laughed at you, called you a nutter nationwide, and you had to deal with kind of stuff like that. But now you've got a growing fan base, and you give talks around the world. What's changed?
The most important thing, if you believe passionately in something, is to keep doing it. And if what you say has validity, eventually it will be shown to be so. The worst thing you can do when you face what I faced in the early 1990s is to walk away, because then everything stops. And what happened to me in 1990 was, 91, is that I had an extraordinary experience where symbolically, imagine someone sitting in a bubble, and reality was whatever was inside the bubble, and then something comes along and pops the bubble, and suddenly all that's outside the bubble starts pouring into your conscious mind. And in that period of great ridicule, when I was on the Wogan show and in all the papers, and I couldn't walk down any street in Britain for years without being laughed at, a comedian had to say my name and he got a laugh. He didn't need a joke. What that period, and it was only about 3 months, but that's what people remember, with a Wogan show in the middle of it, that was when the bubble burst, and there was understandings, information, awareness, concepts, insights that were just pouring into my mind. And I can only describe it as like, you know, when you press too many keys on a computer and it freezes. I can't process this, I'm freezing, thank you. Well, that's what it was like with me. It was a deluge of information coming into my mind. Then after about 3 months, it just went morphed. It's like it unfroze. And suddenly I could see the world in a completely different way. I could see the white bits between the words, and I could see what was really being said, rather than what the words appeared to be saying. And from that point onwards, my life became, and continues to be, the most extraordinary synchronistic series of apparent coincidences, but they're not. There's some force that's kind of opening and shutting doors. It feels like walking through a maze, and some force is saying, no, not there, there. No, not there, there. Because if I sat in this room and tried to work all it out, what's in my books now over 20 years, I might be on book 2, not book 16. Because some force is saying, look at this, look at that. It's like being handed pieces in a puzzle. And the more pieces you put together, the clearer the picture becomes. And the clearer the picture becomes, the quicker you can put the pieces in. And that's where I've reached now. So people who've not read my books or don't see my stuff on the internet, their memory is a guy on the Wogan show in 1991, who basically is in the middle of a extraordinary transformation of perception. And if that's what they remember, then they'll have a certain view of me. But if they see what I'm doing now, and what I've been doing like for the best part of 20 years, they'll see that I'm a very different person to the one they think I am.
Okay, thank you. How did it feel? I mean, so you had that experience on the Wogan show, and things have moved. How did it feel to go back on there and actually have a complete turnaround, to have the audience laugh at Terry Wogan when he described the US as being a free country?
Yes, I know. It was the end of a cycle, really. It was the end of that whole period of my life, and it was very, again, synchronistic, because when I went on the first Wogan show, every single bridge to my past, every single bridge to my old life collapsed in one interview on live television. And then I started my journey, and for many years it was one of enormous ridicule, and abuse from people who remembered one interview. But when I look at that, it was essential for me to go through that. Because when you're talking about the things that I'm talking about, the last thing you need is the prison that most people live in, which is the fear of what other people think. Most people, the vast overwhelming majority of people on this planet, including the, yeah, Jack the lads, hey, go, get around in, it's all front. They're terrified of what other people think as well. What would the blokes down the bar think if I say this? It's different to them. What if I do, oh my God, what about, oh. You know, they're people who act so outwardly, I don't give a shit. And yet really, they're just like everyone else, terrified of being different in a world of uniformity, and a world that's becoming more uniform all the time. So if you are coming from that perspective of what will people think if I say this, then forget going into the area that I'm in, because you're going to be saying things, and I'm saying them all the time, which to, you know, I would say programmed perception of the mass of humanity, they're incredible and ridiculous and oh, it can't be. But I would say to people, that's what they said about those that said the earth was not flat but was round. They said all the same things. And the reason that it was rejected, it was impossible to be round, was that people would fall off the bottom. That was one of the things. Now, once you are in receipt of more information, and you get to the law of gravity, now the apparently impossible becomes perfectly explainable. And it's the same in this whole area that I'm talking about. People dismiss things without any research whatsoever. And they say it's impossible. But then look at that. That makes that possible, right? But they never look at this. They just react and dismiss something by reflex action. So I was going to get all that stuff from people in that state of mind. And I had to be cleaned out of any concern about what they thought of me, otherwise I'm going to be not saying what needed saying. So that whole period of mass ridicule set me free. And I've realized as I've gone through this whole journey that life so often gives you your greatest gifts brilliantly disguised as your worst nightmare. And that was my worst nightmare in the experiencing of it. My kids being ridiculed at school, me being ridiculed wherever I went. But there came a point where the waters broke, and I went through that, crossed that line where what people say and think about me is of no importance or relevance to me whatsoever. I say what I think, I don't hold anything back, I don't go through mental gymnastics, what shall I leave out here so they won't think I'm crazy. I don't care if they think I'm crazy. You know, I care about what's going on in the world and how we're hurtling towards a global centralized fascist agenda by the hour now, while people are dismissing it. Because if you want to control people's perceptions, you must limit their sense of possibility. Because if you pull them into a myopia of what they think is possible, then you can operate in these other areas beyond that, and when someone exposes this is going on and tells here, they just laugh at it. They laugh in the face of the truth because they don't think it's possible. Like I say, it's still a great example of this as well. It's impossible for the earth to be round because people will fall off the bottom. Right? No, well, no, it's not. But your perception is because you're given limited information which dilutes and contracts your sense of possibility. And that's where people are.